You're listening to Big World Network.
Pilgrimage of Angels, Episode 1, written by Raymond Sardella and J.D. Rice, read by Elizaina. Prologue. The endless fields of heaven burned for days on end, blades of grass stubbornly refusing to turn to ash. Fires fed by the boundless energies locked within the celestial plane. At one time, a great many spirits had populated the heavens. Spirits of fire and water, of earth and trees, of the wind and sky. Then all was consumed by the wrath of the lesser gods. Monsters and giants had driven the spirits away, leaving nothing but grassy fields behind, where great forests and seas and mountains had once dwelt. The heavens were abandoned, and what little life was left behind burned in a fire unquenchable. I know this because I watched God try to put the fires out and fail. The lesser gods, the Titans and their Olympian children, had turned their full thought on the destruction of God and his heavenly home. I was among them, a foolish child hoping to please her parents, not realizing the weight her actions carried. Power flowed out of us in boundless waves of unquenched and unchallenged energy, blazing the earth black and the sky red. Yet for all our efforts, still the grass held its form. The essence of life was still protected by the might of the Father, a God who could do little else to stop the destruction his own creations were bringing against him. I marched with the Titans across the whole length of heaven, burning everything in my sight and coming finally before the great throne of God, which lay protected inside a tower of marble and light that rose high above our heads. My eyes glistened with youthful pride as Cronus, leader of the Titans, and Zeus, his Olympian offspring, hammered on the doors of the great tower themselves, calling the so-called King of Kings to come forward and answer for his crimes. He'd withheld the earth from us, denied us the birthright of the world we'd helped create. He would pay for his selfishness and pride. We would have what was ours. One last laborious strike, and the great marble doors of the tower burst from their hinges, white light streaming out from the inside. I shielded my eyes at the brightness and, for the first time, doubted our cause. Could a being so pure as the Father truly be as evil as the Titans said? Was he keeping the earth to himself, or did he understand some greater purpose that my creators did not? But look, I thought, how he trembles in his tower, alone and defenseless. He hides his shame in the light. What a fool I was. "Come out and face us," Cronus called from outside the bare doorway. "Come out and meet the judgment of the Titans and their children." A few moments of silence passed, where even the Titans themselves held their breath awaiting the answer of the greatest being in the heavens. "Judgment belongs to me alone," came a voice from within, weak and labored, tired from resisting our power as we marched across the heavens to reach his throne. "Judgment belongs to the strong," Cronus called, "and you have revealed your weakness. Against the combined power of the gods, you are nothing." "So you say," the voice answered, more pained. "But would children truly turn against their father so easily, for a cause they do not fully understand?" "You call yourself the King of Heaven, the Creator of all," Cronus responded, "and yet it is we who aided you in your labors of creation, who helped fashion the heavens and the earth. We who conceived the nature spirits who now hide on the outer reaches of the heavens, where our fires will soon reach. Who are we if not your co-creators? Who are we if not your successors?" As I listened to Cronus's challenge and to the weakened voice of the god I once loved, my heart was stirred to pity. How the mighty had fallen, God brought to his knees by his own children, and Cronus leading his own son Zeus in rebellion against a dying king. Would the heavens truly benefit from such a loss? Could there not be peace between us? In my heart I prayed for mercy, but I did not know to whom my prayer was directed. "What would you do with the earth, were I to turn it over to you?" the voice from within the tower asked, at almost a whisper. Cronus laughed. "We would shape it as we please, and reserve no place for your baseless, weak, feeble creations to come," he said. "We would craft a world in our image, according to our vision, and its splendor would endure for all eternity." "Such is not my will," the father said sadly, my ears straining to hear his last quiet words. "Such is the will of the gods," Cronus said, and all the army of the Titans shouted out their agreement. My voice alone did not join in the chorus. Just then, the great fires that surrounded us roared into new life, growing taller and burning hotter than ever before. The blades of grass, which for so long had clung to life by the Father's power, vanished in a blaze of ash and heat, extinguished by the flames of our zeal. He protected them no more. He was defeated, or so I feared. Suddenly, the light from within the tower flashed with an intensity I never imagined, and I was forced to divert my eyes for fear of being blinded. "My will cannot be turned by anyone's power," the father's voice roared, far louder and far angrier than I had ever heard. "You claim to be gods, you claim to be immortal. Then see what your immortality has given you." Suddenly, a great tear appeared in the sky above us, a great streak of black stretching across the blood-red sky. A rushing wind howled in our ears and pulled us upward, threatening to take us off our feet. The Titans were the first to lose their grip on the soil, pulled by an unseen force into the tear above. Their forms disappeared in the cloud of black, their screaming voices heard no more. Ahead of me, I saw Zeus clinging to what little earth he could get his hands on, a look of terror and guilt upon his face. "Mercy!" I found myself screaming above the winds. "Have mercy on your misguided children!" For a moment, I believed that even the Father's mercy had run out, that we would be sent into oblivion with our forebearers. But then the wind settled and the great tear above us disappeared. The sky was dark, and the light from the tower, once so bright, was now little more than a faint glimmer. Finding my feet, I walked alongside my Olympian brothers and sisters towards the broken door, peering inside with trepidation. The broken form of an old man lay kneeling in the center of a great hole, breathing harshly. "They are dead?" Zeus asked, looking up at the clear sky outside, his voice shaking and quiet. "No," the father said, straining to stand. "Only banished. If you wish to redeem your souls for the damage you have caused, you must make ready for war again. My plans cannot be halted, but your rebellion and theirs will bring more pain to the world before the end." At these words, not one of us failed to cast our eyes to the ground. "Come," the father said, "all is not yet lost. There is much work to be done." The testimony of Artemis, goddess of the wild, on the last day of the first war of heaven. Blackened earth, hard, dead blades of grass, ash clouding the sky. Heaven was not meant to look this way. The messenger stooped slowly to examine the footprints of the beasts he was tracking. His body was lean yet muscled, and covered in a light golden armor that glittered in the sunlight. Upon his head sat a small winged helmet, the emblem of the messenger's calling. Why he had been ordered to track these fell beasts, he did not know. There were other Olympians and many spirits better suited to the task, and yet it was he who was called by the Father to follow the trail. He could only hope the Father had his reasons. Judging from the state of the earth, the messenger knew the beasts could not have passed any more than a day or two previously. Their claws had chewed at the soil like a cracked and rusted plow, digging deep but leaving no room for life behind. But that was not all. The fire that streamed from their bodies had left the foliage burnt, stripping the greenish-brown fields with long streaks of blackish gray. As far as the messenger's eyes could see, the trail smoldered on in the same direction. They were headed west, to the edge of heaven where no spirits dwelt, where peace remained untouched by the second war of heaven. Despite the days that had passed, the ground was still hot to the touch, and the messenger could only guess what dire need compelled the beasts to race so quickly and burn so brightly. Even now, the light of their fires could be seen on the horizon, beautiful, if not for the knowledge of what their passing would do to the life that remained in these outer lands. The messenger hoped, perhaps foolishly, that the creatures were fleeing their masters, that perhaps they had at last grown weary of fighting in this unending war. But that is an unlikely hope, he thought. These creatures are unceasingly loyal to the beings who created them. They could not betray their masters so easily. As the messenger stood, he wondered what purpose the creatures might have had for racing so quickly towards heaven's borders. The Father had once promised a great secret would reveal itself, and that its revealing would herald the end of the Second War. But that was many years ago, and even the messenger, who so often stood in the Father's presence, had begun to doubt. The other gods swore that no secret was coming, that the Father was merely providing them with hope in a hopeless cause. But could they really doubt the word of one who had never lied? Could they doubt that the Father, creator of all, would tell them anything but the truth? No. In his heart, the messenger knew that the Father's word was true, and perhaps it was now coming to fruition. Maybe that was why the beasts of fire and smoke had come so far out. Perhaps they were afraid of what was to come. Or, worse yet, their masters could simply be trying to stop the secret from ever being known, snuffing it out and ensuring the war would end in their favor. Perhaps the great secret would herald victory for the enemies of the Father. That is something I can never allow to happen. The messenger could remember the way things had been at the end of the First War. Then it had been the whole of the lesser gods who burned the heavens and made the ground like soot beneath their feet. The messenger himself had marched on the throne of God, demanding dominion over the heavens and the earth. The Father's sorrow and fury had been great, his power unfathomable as he banished the Titans into a realm of darkness. Only the messenger, along with his brothers and sisters, had repented in those last moments and been spared the same fate. And yet, the Father had been left shaken by the experience, and even now he relied on his repentant children to fight his war. The heavens were turning black once again. The only difference was that this time, the messenger and his fellow Olympians would give their own lives to see it stop. In a blinding flash of light, he was off, soaring over the fields, following the trail the beasts left for him. As his speed increased, the lines of black became nothing more than a blur beneath his feet. An ear-splitting boom rang out behind him as his speed increased insurmountably. Despite a lead of days, the messenger would be on the beasts in a matter of hours. Then he would know why they had chosen to disturb the peace of the outer heavens. Then he would see just what final secret the Father had planned.
You're listening to Big World Network.
Music by Kevin MacLeod.